welcome to another version of Monday Night Therapy that's actually on Monday night this time. That's kind of different. We haven't been on Monday night for a while.
I was going to think, when was the last time you and I were together on a Monday night? That's been a while too.
So. Probably before Christmas. Hey, Linda Wilkins is here. Good evening, John and Todd. Good evening, Linda. Good to have you. Yeah, Paul Dalen is here. He says hello, CN. But what's going on, Todd? We're both well prepared for this, I know. Either Todd froze or okay. So I know that I am well prepared for this, and we're just gonna start. We're just gonna start talking about. Well, hell, start asking questions if you're in the chat or you're watching. I'm pretty sure that I'm just stuck with a dead frozen Todd, a wax figure of Todd. And there you go. All right. I don't know if many of you watched it last Friday night, but the Polynesian Bowl was on, and Dylan Raiola and Carter Nelson, and I'm already forgetting the name of our lineman that we got. Tuama, I think it is, something like that. Those three players were present in the Polynesian Bowl, and the Polynesian Bowl was, well, it was kind of ugly. I think they finished with like 38 turnovers. Okay, it wasn't 38 turnovers. You're back with us. You froze for a very long time.
I was good to go, and then,
and then all the excitement happened. But the Polynesian Bowl was it was turnover prone, and it was kind of an ugly game to watch. But I mean, we did get to see a little bit of Dylan Raiola, and I guess the comment I would have on him is he just snap of the wrist and the ball flies. It just, I mean, for me to throw football like 50, okay. For me, is 61 and a beat up body to throw a football. I'm not going to bother with that. But even when I was like 18, I was fairly strong. And, to throw a football, I mean, he just flicks his wrist and it's flying down the field. And and he had a nice touch pass to Carter Nelson. And he had another pass that was kind of an RPO where he held the ball. He looked like Josh Allen. That's what he looked like. Which, I did. Did you watch the NFL playoffs, Todd?
Oh, yeah, I sure did.
They were good.
I'm becoming an NFL fan. I took about 30 years off.
Did you? Well, I think the quarterback play is better than ever. Green Bay lost. That would, that it didn't make me that sad because they started out the year really god awful to watch, and they finished the year pretty well. And it was sad for me as a Packers fan that they lost to the 49ers once again, when it looked like they might have it in the bag. And then I watched the Bills and the
Chiefs,
chefs, the Bills and the Chefs, and I wanted the Bills to win just because they're just, Josh Allen. I think the Josh Allen story is a great story. Nobody offered him many scholarships out of high school. He went to Wyoming and became, and even when he got drafted in the NFL, people was like, whatever, Josh Allen. And now he's really fun to watch. I think that's the key with him. And then, Paul Dallin says 78 yards. He threw the ball effortlessly, 78 yards. Oh, my fucking God. He's talking about Dylan Raiola, not Josh Allen. But I think that, it was sad to watch the Bills. It was sad to watch the Bills lose. What wasn't sad, though, Todd?
What wasn't sad, John? Tell me.
What wasn't sad was Jason Kelce not wearing really many clothes, looking like he's having a happy retirement around Taylor Swift. And I know people are like, oh, they show her too much. But I mean, you know what? If they can keep her in the little glass area with a shirtless, screaming Jason Kelce who jumps out into the crowd, I'm okay with that kind of content for the NFL.
Well, to me, the highlight, I loved watching that game. That was a good game. Unfortunately for the Bills, a missed field goal. But boy, to watch Patrick Mahomes play and to, well, I'll talk about two or three things there, but my favorite part of the game was when they cut to Jason Kelce there. And when the announcer said, "That's Jason Kelce," it's kind of like big, hairy chested guy they figured was just some crazy Buffalo Bill fan, slamming beer, and it was Jason Kelce. So that was awesome. What I really liked the most about that game, and what I'm starting to like more about NFL football, is running the ball between the tackles. And last night in the first half, the Bills had tremendous success. They were just blowing the Chiefs off the ball, and they were just pounding it at them. Now they didn't sustain that in the second half, but that Pacheco kid from the Chiefs, he runs the ball well.
Yeah.
The Lions run the ball well with that Gibbs and Montgomery. I'm just liking NFL football right now. And the Lions and the Niners next week, I think that's going to be a great matchup.
Yeah.
With what I have seen, though, I think, name the score with the Ravens. I mean, the Ravens just look absolutely incredible. So, yeah, NFL football has got me excited.
Caden Vermoss says, is it possible for John Johnston to say hi? Hi. I've watched these vids for a while now. Wait a minute. Let me try it again. He says, is it possible for John Johnston to say hi? I've watched these vids for a while now. Is this the Caden Vermoss that is actually a recruit to Nebraska?
Yes, it is, John. If you've been reading the comments, you'd recognize he's committed for 2025.
That just, you know what? Okay, first of all, cool. I'm glad you're here. Secondly, hearing the idea that somebody is committed to 2025, I saw that earlier today and it freaked me completely out. Okay. Because I can remember when we were in college in 1980, Todd, in my freshman year at University of Nebraska, and thinking 2025, the earth is not even going to be around then. That's so far in the future. Who could even think about that? And here it is. My God.
In the year 2525.
Yeah, that's that exactly. That's the kind of stuff that that's the kind of stuff that's going on. By the way, there was a fumble into the end zone and out of the end zone for a touchback. I did do a video on the History channel I have going on that. I'm probably going to stick with live videos and just Nebraska content here and do more widespread college football content on the History channel I got going. The other thing is I do have an annual Polar Plunge coming up this Saturday. If you want to donate, I should have had the URL thing. I'll put it in the show notes. I'll put it in the article. I'll look it up before we're done. But it's freaking 27 degrees right now. I'm looking at my Apple Watch. It's 27 degrees. That's like a heat wave, man. I mean, I'm not going to say that I don't like 35 degree weather in winter. I would prefer it's around 5 to 8 degrees. If we're going to have winter, it should just be 5 to 8 degrees, right in that range. Not go up to this 30 stuff where it gets all sloppy and crappy all over the place. And, there you go. But I don't know what we're going to do. I'm guessing we're going to run into the water from the beach. We got a note from the people that put on the plunge today, and it said, we've been putting on plunges for years and years. We've dealt with all sorts of things and, blah, blah, blah.
Husker Chuck is a little bit concerned about your upcoming plunge, John. Husker Chuck says, Polar Plunge, how high will the Nads go, John?
They disappear. The moment it's like they have their own vision. They see the water coming when you're jumping into it from and they see they just go right up. They disappear. They literally teleport out of your body to someplace else for a while. And then they come back like many hours later, like spring.
David just as soon as we go down that road, then David Matney, he's wanting us to straighten up here a little bit. Hey, John, let's not have Caden decommit as a result of the live stream. We should be on our best behavior.
This is it.
if Caden has been paying it, it appears Caden's been watching us a little bit, so he knows what he's getting into. And what does it matter? We're hardcore Nebraska fans. We're all in it for the boys, and I'll tell you what, I'm so excited about what Matt Rule's been doing. He had 30 recruits in, 30 juniors in this last weekend. I'll tell you what, the effort that this coaching staff, this whole staff is putting forward with this program has just been outstanding, and very, very excited about that. Class started today for at UNL. I didn't hear anything about people not showing up that were expected to be there, so I think we're in a good shape.
So we still have like 742 guys on the roster?
Yeah, we do. We do.
Hey, have we checked Huskers.com? Have we checked Huskers? Oh, for God's sake. Have we checked Huskers.com to... Why is this so difficult?
Actually take a look at the roster.
At the roster to see if it's been updated.
I have
I just
looked,
know that. That's it.
I did hear something today. That we may never really know who's on scholarship and who's on nil money. And, I don't know that they probably have to disclose that to someone. But, yeah.
I'm looking. Keep talking about something.
Well,
you know what you can talk about, Todd?
Yeah, well, Fred and I agreed for the first time tonight, which is a good thing. And Fred and I are usually on the same page. So Fred says the level of effort and attention to detail by the staff, have to say, is awesome.
You know what you can talk about, Todd?
No, I got a good one here, John.
Oh, okay, you got a good one.
Husker Chuck says, John, if Huskers is too hard to say, we can change the name of the team.
It's just sometimes this stuff is, I don't know, it gets lost between my brain and my mouth. It's been exacerbated by the brain injury, but it's always been this way. Todd can tell you that when I was younger, many things got lost between my brain and my mouth. So
the only difference between John version 2.0 and John version 1.0 is he doesn't drink alcohol anymore. There are no other differences.
That's pretty much true. Well, Grant Bricks is on here. I wanted to sort this thing. Okay, I'll just forget it. Hey, wrestling.
Yeah,
we beat Minnesota in a duel. We won our first Big Ten
Minnesota
duel.
in a duel. Beat Purdue in a duel.
I flipped back and forth between that and the Polynesian Bowl. One more thing about the Polynesian Bowl. I did watch the halftime show, and I thought, that's better than a lot of the Super Bowl halftime shows that I've seen. I mean, it was kind of cool. But wrestling, I watched some wrestling. Peyton Robb lost for the first time this year, right?
No. Peyton Robb's dropped 3 in a row.
Oh, he has? That's right. Okay. So tell us about wrestling a little bit.
Well, they beat Minnesota, and it came down to the heavyweight match, and it was Harley Andrews, the freshman from Oklahoma, that got a big takedown towards the end of the match to win it and secure it. And Nebraska came up with the win against Minnesota. Minnesota's a better team this year than they've been the last 3 or 4 years. Minnesota was a powerhouse when Jay Robinson was the coach there. They were winning national championships, and they've been down a little bit, but they're on the way back up. Nebraska Coach Manning pulled a few guys out of the lineup, wrestled a few different guys against Minnesota, but overall it was a nice win. It was great to see Harley Andrews at heavyweight, have a really good, meaningful win. Then against Purdue, it was pretty close for a while, but again, we talked about the better wrestlers. Ridge Lovett he's the top wrestler on the team right now. He's the number 1 ranked 149 pounder. He hasn't been beaten, and he's looking really, really good. But, John has mentioned Peyton Robb, and Peyton Robb is in a funk right now. And the mental part of wrestling is 10 times harder, maybe even more than that, than the physical part of the sport. Peyton Robb was in a tough match against a true freshman from Purdue. And he was down on the mat, and he tried to roll for a reverse, or he tried to roll from a reversal, and he got put on his back and pinned. So he's really going through a tough stretch. What I want to really talk about with wrestling is Nash Hutmacher wrestled his third match. It still amazes me, and I know that a lot of people are all goo goo gaga about the polar bear wrestling, but I am still amazed at how athletic he is. He won, I think, 4 or 5-0. Can't remember the score. Beat a decent kid from Purdue, went the full match. But even in the last minute of the match, he's always moving forward. He's attacking. He's going after takedowns. What scares me is he gets out of position, and the better guys are going to catch him. And he could get flipped and put on his back. But I cannot believe how well that kid moves on his feet, and how well and how agile he is down on the mat. I mean, he's 285 pounds, and he moves around like a guy who
he moves like Gable Stevenson.
He moves better than Gable Stevenson. I mean, he's not the wrestler Gable Stevenson. But he moves like a guy who weighs 165 pounds.
Yeah, he did.
He's very flexible. He's very agile. And that just shocks me. I don't think I've seen a heavyweight that big who has the agility, the balance, the flexibility, and the strength that kid has. I mean, it just blows me away. I was skeptical.
So this is where you talk about why younger people should be multi-sport athletes.
There's no question. And, we all, have taken our turn, and we get great pleasure out of bashing Captain Kirk over in Hawkeye Land. But, Ferentz, his sons all wrestled in high school, and that was just what they did. And there have been different periods of time when Iowa's had their best offensive lines that 4 or all 5 of the interior linemen were high school wrestlers. Being a multi-sport athlete pays dividends, especially if you're one of those guys in the trenches. Wrestling promotes balance. You fight with your hands. You learn how to use leverage. There's nothing like it. And, there's people that play more than one sport are less likely to get injured, because those one sporters, overuse and that kind of stuff. Most of your college coaches are going to say they want to recruit players. It doesn't matter what the sport is. They want to recruit athletes that play more than one sport. So,
speaking of more than one sport, Todd, the men's basketball team beat Northwestern at home, and they broke their losing streak of the 2-game road losing streak. It was a tight game, but do you know where Nebraska's basketball team is in the Big Ten standings?
Of course I do. Of course.
Where are they, Todd?
Well, they're tied for 5th, John. Everybody knows it. I mean, hardcore basketball fans like moi, who has actually watched one full men's basketball game this year and one full women's game, and it's not even tournament time. I've watched 2 full basketball games this year. So I know that the men, and I know that because you looked and told me before we came on air.
Well, you didn't have to say that part. You were impressing people right up until then. But they're tied for 5th. They have a 500 record. They are 12-1 at home and 1-4 on the road. They kind of need to figure out the road thing if they're going to get into any kind of postseason tournaments. Listen, I said this on Thursday night. I'm going to say it again until people get it. There is not a single team. Wait, there's one team in the Big Ten. One team with a winning road record, and that is Purdue at 3-2. But Wisconsin leads the conference at 6-1, Purdue at 6-2, Nebraska's at 4-4. And it's it's kind of globby, the Big Ten. I think we saw some projections that they're projected for an NCAA tournament bid, but I think the Big Ten's going to end up where most of the teams. We're not going to have a lot of teams over 500 this year. You're not going to have that top heavy stuff where Michigan State and Purdue are kicking everybody's ass. So, Danny Nee was back for the Northwestern game. I'm glad it was a win just because I just want men's basketball to do well. I don't pay that close attention to women's basketball. We have other people, Jaden and Jill, that are covering that, but Nebraska's women's basketball is at 5-3. They are fourth. Well, they are fourth. They're not tied for fourth. They're fourth in the Big Ten Conference right now. And speaking of women's basketball, Todd, Ohio State upset Iowa at Ohio State. And Ohio State rushed the floor. And I don't know if everybody saw this or not, but Caitlin Clark ran into a fan who was running onto the floor. And I didn't upload any videos or anything, but her running into the flare, she runs into the student who's rushing the floor, and she kind of looks like, and she falls down. And there have been so many people with so many different angles from cell phones on Twitter analyzing this that are just going after Caitlin Clark for flopping when this girl ran into her. And
I haven't seen all the angles, but one, there's no way Caitlin Clark didn't see her. No way. Now, could she have avoided her? Probably not. But the girl was running out there with her phone, looking at her phone, so she's not paying any attention. But that's what Caitlin Clark is. She is a flopper, and it is so instinctive that even during a floor storming, when she senses any contact, her arms go up in the air and she flops. Here's what I think needs to happen. I think the children of the Big Ten need to start producing Caitlin videos. Like back during remember the World Cup a couple World Cups ago when everybody was doing the Neymar? You remember that?
No, not right now.
Little soccer players from all over the world are doing these videos like Neymar, who was the big player from Brazil. He's a noted flopper, notorious flopper. They're all doing the Neymar. I think we need little girls in Big Ten country to start producing little videos of doing the Caitlin. Let's do the Caitlin.
Oh my God. Oh my God. You could take the perspective that we're a whole sad society looking at a 22-year-old young woman and making fun of her. But you could also take the perspective that this is how we treat anybody else. So welcome to equality. And secondly, now you're getting paid. We can do this and not feel bad about it at all. Okay. What else we got going on?
Well, here's, don't ever underestimate Linda. Linda Wilkins says, I agree, Todd. I tell my husband all the time, don't get out of position or you could end up on your back.
Wow. Okay.
Linda lets us in on a little secret. Fred Sacco says Brian Ferentz got into a wrestling match with his clothes one night and lost a unanimous decision. Well, I tell you what, actually, I got to watch Brian wrestle in high school, and Brian was a good wrestler. He was a real good wrestler. I can't remember the other brother's name. The other brother was probably better, but both of them were pretty good guys. And at the state wrestling tournament, Captain Kirk, he was just like any other dad, just trying to chill after the anxiety of watching your kid wrestle. So, sure.
So wait a minute. Justin Rogge asks, so what about Rule hiring Anthony Crispino, who was TCU general manager? Have you heard anything more than what's out there? Have you heard
I've not heard anything more than that, but I think it's just adding to the infrastructure of the organization. I don't know. I don't know much.
I think the thing is people last week were concerned that, some guys left.
Yeah.
Some analysts left and people are like, whoa, anytime you do that and people are like, ooh, what's going on? Is there a problem? Well, yeah, there's a problem. The problem is that when Matt Rule came in to get hired, he had to hire a whole shitload of people in a very short time frame. So not all of them are going to work out. And we're all a lot more mobile in the workforce these days. Let's see. Anthony Chris, Sonny Dykes is at TCU.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Is it Sonny? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He was at SMU. I know a kid that played for him at SMU for Sonny Dykes, not Anthony. Well, maybe he knows that. Maybe I'll hit him up and see what he knows about this guy. Yeah, he did. Okay. Crispino worked with Sonny Dykes at SMU. So this guy I know should know this guy. Huh. Maybe we'll get some more poop on that.
I'm going to put this one up here, and because another couple people mentioned it as well. Paul Dalen says Clark is the best basketball player in the country, men's and women's. She doesn't flop any more than anyone else. Well,
come on, Paul. Come on.
I think she flops a lot. But then Clay Casselder comes in and says Clark's the best girl baller I've seen ever. She is good. I mean, there is absolutely no question. Yeah. She's good. And the fact that she pulls up from, the mascot and fires a shot up there, just like, she's goofing around in the driveway. I mean, holy smokes. She is amazing. She's amazing.
She is, but she's not our player. So therefore we get to abuse and make fun of and hope that she fails miserably. Because that's how it is with sports.
Husker Chuck pops in and says she flops more than Adam Sandler.
Oh, wow. That's a shot. All right. What else do we have in the notes, Todd?
Well, we're talking a little bit. I think we'll shift a little bit and talk hair care. Fred Sacco comes up with, I think, them SMU oil men produce the petroleum hair products John uses to keep his mane looking supple and vibrant.
Yeah, my secret is out. Everything comes from the research labs at SMU due to oil men.
Them oil men and the old Pony Express.
It is January 22nd, and in February, every year I want to go spend some time in Dallas in February because February is the most miserable month of the year in Minnesota. But it doesn't look like this is going to happen this year. You mentioned something about going somewhere in February.
South Carolina.
Yeah. What for?
Yeah. To watch Nebraska play Coastal Carolina. Not Coastal. University of Charleston.
In baseball.
Yeah. In baseball.
Because baseball season is soon to be among us.
Among us. Yep. Actually, Nebraska opens in the Dallas area.
Oh, do they? I haven't looked yet.
2 weeks ahead of being out in South Carolina.
Clay Casselder says, gentlemen, we need an entire night stacking our O-line and D-line up to the rest of the Big Ten next year. That's the reason why I was going to look at the roster to see if it's fully updated yet, because I thought that, for us at CornNation, that it's time to start laying out the position groups. And I don't do this. We do this stuff. Probably there's other sites that have done this already, but we don't do this stuff until, you get on campus, you get accepted into school, you don't commit a crime that keeps you off the football team. And then, we have a long time to go even for spring football. So, we'll be looking at position groups coming up. I think Todd and I are working on getting some guests on so we don't have to just talk to each other all the time. But these things will be coming up. Put that in the notes, Todd, the whole offensive line thing and defensive line thing.
The whole offensive line and defensive line thing. I got it.
Okay.
Fred says, at Clay, I don't know, that would make John do show. That's fighting words.
Okay. Yeah, the thing is right before this, I was literally reading newspapers from 1895 and 1899. I know that sounds kind of weird, but that's what I was doing, because I recently put out a video about how hair was the first football helmet. And now I'm working on another bit about the first mouthpieces. And it's when you look at if you go out on the internet and even Wikipedia, which is the bastion of clear-cut research knowledge, you go out to Wikipedia and look up what was the first mouthpiece. They'll talk about boxers in 1920. That would mean that football players somehow went from 1869 to 1920. Was that a span of 30 years, 40 years without having anything to protect their teeth? And I find that unbelievable because, I played high school football. I wasn't very good at it, but you get hit in the face a lot. I don't know if you knew that, but if you don't have something to protect your teeth, you're not going to have them.
Well, I think that was just kind of the way it was.
I don't know. That just seems too much to me. You know what I mean? Because it's listen. Okay, I won't go there. I will. Part of my chief, because a friend of ours tackled me into a wall when we were in college. And, playing football, if you don't have the mouth guard or some kind of thing to protect your teeth, there's two things going to happen. You're going to break them, or you're going to get some kind of head injury. And they certainly got a lot of head injuries in those days, but they had to have something that was a mouthpiece or a rubber something. So that's what I'm looking for, is evidence on that. And I have started, I've started finding information about how they did wear rubber things in their mouth and stuff like that to protect their mouths.
Well, Linda Wilkins says that
was probably not that interesting. They were, yeah, that's true. They were a little bit nuts,
And did you ever watch? I can't remember what the name of the movie was, but it was out about 3 or 4 years ago. It was about World War I, where they took actual footage of English soldiers, and they colorized it, and then they turned it into a film.
Yeah, it was We Will Always Be Young or something like that.
Yeah.
I haven't watched that.
It was excellent. And what stands out to me was how bad their teeth were. Their teeth were horrible.
Really?
People weren't paying for dental care back in the early 20th century. It was what it was. And so, if you got a few of them knocked out, well, that's just the way it goes.
Okay, yeah. Vince Watson says John reliving his childhood, reading the papers from the day. Yeah, and what's your point, Vince? This is likely. This actually would have happened when I was a kid. Fred Sacco says John used to sell newspapers on the corner. Extra, read all about it, shit ass. That is, I did have a paper route when I was a kid in Curtis, Nebraska. So that's not too far from the truth.
I had a paper route too. I loved my paper route.
Nick Breyer says, but do you notice players have mouthpieces hooked to their helmet, but do not put them in their mouth? I thought that was a penalty.
Not in the NFL. And
it isn't?
No, and it's there was an article last week about how the whole mouthpiece thing has been kind of a fashion statement. There's some players that have two of them hooked to their mouth or hooked to their face mask.
Why?
I don't know. It's a thing. Have you seen the ones that are painted like vampire teeth?
Yeah.
You've got those pacifier mouthpieces.
I mean, I would think they're kind of cool. If I was a guy playing football now, that's what I would do. I'd have something. I'd paint it like alternate blacks so that I look like a guy from West Virginia or something. Okay, Todd, we're 36 minutes in and we didn't do show prep for this. So we still have a ways to go.
Yeah. I figure we got plenty to talk about.
Okay, what's next?
What's next?
Yeah.
Well, what I was wondering is if Dylan Raiola, if
Yeah.
Dylan Raiola is what everybody thinks he is, what's the ceiling for Nebraska football in year one? And assuming he is what everybody thinks he is, how many years does he stay at Nebraska?
Well, put it this way. Let's start with the second part first. I would think, I mean, you're looking at a kid that chose to go to Nebraska, even though he could attend it. He could have gone to any other university in the nation to play football because, I mean, he was that sought after, right? But he chose to come to Nebraska because apparently the strong legacy, the strong family ties, those kinds of things. Now, after being here 2 years, maybe he'll get sick of us. I would expect him to stay 3 years. I would think, if he's everything we think he is, I couldn't imagine him staying 4 or redshirting because, I mean, the NFL's, the quarterbacks in the NFL, they need quarterbacks in the NFL. There's 32 teams and there's probably only 8 to 10 maybe good quarterbacks in the NFL. So, I mean, these are the most sought after people on the planet Earth. They get paid gajillions of dollars the moment they step out of college, even if they're not that good, just on the basis of, they might be good enough for us to have a quarterback. So I agree with Paul here. I'm going to overwrite, get ready for yours. He says leaves after his junior year if he's healthy. I agree with that. That's exactly what I agree with. You can go back to your other one. What was that?
No, that's Husker Chuck had said he thought they'd be 10-2 and would be the ceiling. Ceiling would be 10-2 and he'd stay for 3 years. One of the more prominent Nebraska sports writers said that he thinks it's almost a done deal right now that younger brother Dayton will be at Nebraska. And so Dylan, he's going to have to get out to make room for his younger brother.
Oh my God. I can't imagine how much pressure that's, on the other hand, everything you hear about them is that they carry that weight well, they carry everything well, but they haven't played it down yet for Nebraska. So, God help them if they're not the answer to our prayers,
Fred Sacco says, to be honest, I'll just be happy if Raiola does 2 things. Doesn't throw to wide open linebackers and actually stays here and doesn't transfer if the mood hits. Yeah, I concur with you there, Fred. Linda, I think you and I are on the same page with this situation with Mr. Raiola. Linda Wilkins says he cannot carry the team by himself if he does not have the supporting staff. The supporting staff. He will not be that successful. And
they brought in 368 guys. I mean, they got to have something there, right? They might not even be done. Go ahead.
Joel Tilson asked the question, will Alabama stay successful with their new coach? Is it Kalen DeBoer? Do I have the first name right?
Yeah.
Coming from Washington. What do you think? How is he going to be able to keep Alabama winning? Is he going to, the worst job is following a legend.
Yeah. I think the problem is not that he keeps the Alabama winning. It's that he keeps Alabama winning at the level that Nick Saban does. And, I think we learned listen, Tom Osborne was a legendary coach. Okay. Just his whole career, all of the things he accomplished, all of the things he did, he was a legendary coach. Finding a replacement for that guy, you have to go find another legendary coach. And they don't just, it's not like you can just go to a high price coach store and buy them off the shelf. You have to kind of, not only find the guys that are capable of doing that, you have to have the organization built around them. And I guess what I'm trying to say is this. Like Ohio State, I brought this up. They think, well, we're going to be good no matter who the coach is. Well, then go hire a penguin and see what happens. But I'm not doing a very good job of explaining this, but you can't legendary people who are the best at their position, they're just not replaceable because of all the things they're capable of doing. All of the people and it's not their technical skills most of the time. Is it Daniel Goldman who wrote Emotional Intelligence?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay. That's probably for me when I look at this. You look at we know Tom Osborne. Everybody's read stuff about him. I think we know two things about him. Is number one, he was an offensive genius in terms of just putting a play structure together and having his players execute that. But the other thing he was a genius in terms of motivating his players and understanding who his players were. And I think you can have the technical side of that in a lot of coaches. And what you don't have is just a lot of coaches that don't have the emotional intelligence to do that. I think one key factor that I always look at when I look at coaches is, do they treat everyone the same? In other words, do they let their star players get away with stuff and that they don't let their not star players get away with? Because, in college, maybe in the pros, you can get away with that crap because people are getting paid and they realize it's just a job. But at the college level, that is so important that, well, and think about how in your jobs, if you've gone through, work experiences where, your manager favored a person. I certainly, as a consultant, worked in a lot of companies where people did that and everybody else was miserable. And you can't be at a high performing level enough to win championships if you're going to do that kind of stuff. So this is a long-winded answer to Kalen DeBoer going to be successful.
I think Kalen DeBoer has a chance to be successful at Alabama. But what it will come down to is with a lot of those kinds of fan bases, and Nebraska's the same kind of fan base as Alabama. Will the Alabama fan base allow him to be successful? I think that plays into it as well. I think it's a positive. They went outside, the Alabama family, if you will. I think that was good. But I think, the next interesting thing as far as on the coaching front is what's going to end up happening with Jim Harbaugh. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, he's loving life right now. And, he's watching his brother's team play in a playoff game and he's chilling. And apparently there's some information coming out of Minnesota that not Minnesota, Michigan, pardon me. But the issue of a contract, should he stay at Minnesota or at Michigan, and what's going to go into that contract? Michigan's got to be pretty sick and tired of him flirting with the NFL every year. Michigan's got to be pretty tired of him skirting the rules and bringing negative attention upon him. So, but then he can look at Michigan and say, hey, I won you a natty. So I'm real curious what's going to end up. I think he's scheduled to have a second interview with the San Diego Chargers.
He has had it.
My opinion is that's a perfect fit for him. Put him out there, not San Diego, Jiminy Christmas, Los Angeles Chargers. Put him out there in Southern California, and he'll feel right at home with all the other eccentric people, that live in that part of the world. And I tell you what, he shows up with the Chargers. I think that playoffs in 2 years.
Tiger Shark Diver says, I built a treehouse with Jim Harbaugh last week. I don't know why that makes me laugh so much, but it just doesn't seem that far out of possibilities,
Yeah.
I think the key with Jim Harbaugh at Michigan is he wants a contract where he's not held responsible for anything. In other words, they basically take the for cause contract out of his contract, or for cause wording out of him, so that he gets fired because he violated all sorts of rules or he has problems. They can't just go, well, we no longer owe you $100 million or whatever it is, which is, it's, I don't know. It's nuts. And then we go, here's Fred Sacco with the follow-up. Tiger Shark, did Harbaugh steal the plans from someone else? Okay. Okay. What's next, Todd?
Well, I was wondering about this too, and we'll get some input from the people that are following along with us here tonight. I'm always curious what their perspective is on things. So we were having a little spat in Slack today, not really a spat, but a comment was made about Joe Gans. Joe Gans is hooked on with, now I've even forgot, he's hooked on with somebody as a tight end coach, former Nebraska quarterback. Who?
I think it was Middle Tennessee State, wasn't it?
I can't remember.
Yeah, Middle Tennessee.
Middle Tennessee. So we'll put it this way. Who are the top 3 Nebraska quarterbacks of the 21st century? And you can't say Eric Crouch. Eric Crouch was the quarterback at Nebraska, I think in 2020, 2021, maybe 2001 and 2002. I think he was 2000, 2001, 2002. So, I mean, he's a Heisman Trophy winner, and in most Nebraska fans' eyes, that makes him the greatest. So, eliminate Eric Crouch. Who are the top 3 Nebraska quarterbacks of the 21st century thus far? We're almost a quarter of our way in.
Oh my God. Stop saying that. Well, yeah, what the hell?
Who do you think the best quarterback of the last 23 odd years?
Wait a minute. Let's give them a list. We had the list here.
Okay.
You've got this is not in any sort of order.
Any particular order.
What did you? Zach Taylor, Joe Gans, Tommy Armstrong, Adrian Martinez, Taylor Martinez. You got 2 Martinezes. Jamal Lord was after Eric Crouch. Is that right?
Yeah.
Joe Daly, Casey Thompson, Chubba Purdy, Zach Lee. Did I mention him twice? Sam Keller, Jeff Sims. Should I write those all out in a comment?
No, you can throw in Ron Kellogg. Ron Kellogg was a quarterback then. And, those are just quarterbacks who's
Cody Green.
Cody Green. Their careers basically are over. I mean, I don't know that you can't pass judgment on Heinrich Harburg. He's still got
right.
Oh, Harrison Beck. I'd forgotten all of.
I think
Paul Dalen says Joe Gans, Zach Taylor, and Jamal Lord. I think that's a pretty good set.
That is an interesting.
Linda throws out Tommy F. I hope. Did you mean Tommy Armstrong? Because Tommy Frazier is the greatest Nebraska quarterback of all time, but he's not in the 21st century.
Yeah, you're putting two older quarterbacks in there.
She broadened her perspective. Quarterbacking was a lot better at Nebraska in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Clay Casselder comes in. Taylor Martinez, Zach Taylor, Joe Gans. We got some Taylor Martinez fans. Ooh.
I get that one with the
Justin Rogge says Zach Taylor, Taylor Martinez, Joe Gans, Adrian Martinez. You throw one up there that you got.
There's this guy, Dana Williams, that says Jamal Lord had the heart of a lion. I really like Jamal Lord.
I like Jamal Lord too. He's for whatever reason, he's been easy to forget though.
Yeah.
You know?
I'm going to agree with Joel Tilson. It says Zach Taylor was the best passer. I think I would put Zach Taylor ahead of Joe Gans. I might put him after Taylor Martinez, though.
So do you like Joe? Do you like Taylor Martinez as the top one, John?
I think so. I think he was prolific. His problem was he didn't live up to he didn't answer our prayers. Well, none of them did, but we had, Martinez came out and had that freshman year and is like, oh, he's a Heisman contender. And then, he didn't really reach those heights again. And I don't think that was all his. Well, none of it's all their fault, but I don't think that was necessarily his fault because of the team that was around him wasn't as great as the teams that were before. But
well, the thing about Taylor Martinez is those injuries that he had in the last couple of years were really detrimental to him. And gosh, he was exciting. He was excited. Adrian was really exciting his freshman year too. But Adrian was asked to carry the load. And, Taylor Martinez had running backs. He had people he could give the ball to.
True. Anonymous says Zach Taylor is an NFL coach and Joe Gans is an assistant on a Sunbelt team. Would you have thought there'd be that much of a difference in their coaching careers? Well, we'll see where they get to. I mean, NFL coach, there's not very many of them, and that's certainly an elite club. But, being a tight ends coach at are they Division I? I think Middle Tennessee is.
Yeah, they are.
I think, they are Sunbelt. They're Division I FBS. So, we'll see what happens with Joe Gans' career. Maybe this is something he just decided to get involved in. James Boardman, Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor was the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. True.
Yeah, there you go.
And man, think about that. He's the last great offensive player Nebraska has had, if you look at it in terms of accolades.
Right. Damn. Really?
Well, that's one way of looking at it.
It is one way. It was one very sad way of looking at it. God, I hope these guys can get us out of this funk.
Husker Chuck says Tommy Armstrong had that 23-point comeback versus Miami.
Then did his overtime thing.
Tommy was I don't know if it was just you, John, or if other people referred to it, with Tommy Armstrong and his YOLO passes.
Yeah. I mean, he was. He just like,
Hey, did you know that Westerkamp was his roommate?
I'd forgotten all about it. Is there any other news that we need to bring up?
Well, obviously the basketball teams are kind of in that Big Ten portion of the season. Wins are hard to come by, on the road. So you've got to win your home games, and both of them are still sitting in a pretty good spot as far as the conference goes. But I think a lot of people are still waiting for. I mean, the men's team beat Purdue. So they've got a signature win. But I still think people are waiting for them to put everything together. So, I think Husker fans are going to want to pay attention to basketball here over the course of the next few weeks. And then, honestly, I've kind of lost touch with the women's team. I haven't watched or paid attention much recently. I'm going to have to get back and watch them a little bit. So, But that's about all we really got going on.
Yep. You know, I got today I got I got an email from Indiana's athletic department, and it says baseball is planning to practice outdoors on Friday, January 26th.
Wow.
So they're from 1 to 5 p.m. Media can arrive and watch from 3:30 to 5 with plans to talk to Coach Mercer and players afterwards. So, you know, baseball's coming up. Baseball Fan Day. Nebraska's Fan Day is coming up.
February 2nd.
February 2nd. So, you know, get interested in the baseball team because, you know, Haymarket's a great place to go watch baseball, and it's fun. You know, that's the key.
John, I told
fun.
everyone it was one of the nights that you weren't able to make it. We are going to pull together, you know, a gathering. Right. And I think we're going to try really hard to make it work when Iowa plays in Lincoln, and have a tailgate hopefully on the Saturday of that weekend series, and we'll get information out. We'd love to see you guys. You know, even if you don't want to go to the ball game, come to Lincoln and hang out with us. You know, in front of the game, we'll have some stuff to eat and some stuff to drink, and we'd love to have an opportunity to meet you face to face and chat a little bit.
We could all argue in person.
Yeah, you betcha.
I could yell at everybody. Clay Casselder says, John, do you sell those night robes on the site? You know, not yet, but I'm looking into stuff. That's what I'm doing. Let's see what else. Fred Sacco says media can arrive. So why did they email you, John? Hey, buddy.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
Ooh.
You doing? What are you doing there? What are you doing? Wait, I missed it. Tiger Shark Diver says, I told my ex we could make it work. I have no idea what that's about.
I think that's in reference to the, well, I don't know what that is in reference to. Maybe that's to come and see us during the CornNation tailgate.
Linda Wilkins says, good night, John and Todd. Great show tonight. Thank you, Linda. John, don't slip on the dock jumping in. That's the thing about this. I don't know. You know what? Here's the thing. If you're on YouTube, I will post a community post that should give you a link if you want to donate. The donations go to the Minnesota Special Olympics. I'm trying to meet my goal of $500. I don't think we're as active this year. It's not been a great morale year for the people I work with, I think, and it's just been difficult to get everybody going. And I shouldn't include that. They'll probably go, what the hell are you doing, John? But don't slip on the dock jumping in. Yeah, I don't know what we're going to do. I suppose I hope that somebody brings a camera and we can get a video of me probably shrieking like a, you know, little boy as my nads disappear into the ether. Okay. Do we have anything else?
I think we've stretched it as far as we can possibly stretch it.
I am going to try to get we're trying to get some guests coming up. I'm going to try to get a friend of mine from Ohio State to come in and explain what the hell is going on at Ohio State, just because I want him to answer that whole we're going to be good no matter who the coach is and why they want Ryan Day fired. So at least we can, you know, if nothing else, we can have some shows where we make fun of other fan bases because, you know, with a person representing them, because that would be fun. Okay. Good night, Todd.
Good night, John.